So I'm still searching and still watching. And with new understandings, I want to present a new study. And so this study is called Blood Moon Warning of or in 40 and 50 days. High watch time. Now, we all remember the recent blood moon of May 15th, 16th of 2022, which also included an eclipse. And if any of you viewed my last study, you should remember that May 15th was the days of Buddha Day. And it was also the anniversary date of when I felt that Yahushua ascended into heaven as the first month, the 17th of which he rose, which meant that there was 14 days left in that month of the first month. 14 plus 26 days leads us to the 26th day of the second month. And the 26th day of that second month matches with May 15th on the Gregorian calendar, thus being the 40th day that Acts 1 talks about when he ascended. Now, it's more than apparent to me that the enemy of ours knows something very important. And they've depicted it within IPECO 2, matching with the time frame I'm interested in now. So as I indicated again in my last study, I pointed out that this depiction in IPECO 2 seems to be a match for the May 15th full moon eclipse. And part of the reason why I was thinking that was that you saw the rabbit in the background of that last picture. And one of the names of that full moon is called the hare moon. And as we also saw the exit sign in the background of that picture, thus I was thinking that that would be a timing to be watchful for us to leave. Well, we're still here. So again, here's kind of proof of what I'm talking about, that I think they know what we're learning also. As I have pointed out that it was Buddha Day on May 15th. Steve Fletcher also found that out just recently, and he posted this picture in his video indicating a very similar picture between Buddha with lilies at the feet and ones with bald heads surrounding Buddha with the picture in the video of IPECO 2 with Lily there indicating the timing of the lunar eclipse when the screen goes dark. And then we see the apple rolling. And I now believe that that is an indication of we got to wait a little while longer here, time going on. And then we see the apple stopping right in front of Obama's foot with LC on the floor. We're told that Roman number LC equals 50, as it's actually 100 minus 50 equals 50. So could it actually be only 50 days left for them from that full moon eclipse? And what about us? How many days to go? As Sister Sherry told us, and these blood moons serve as a sign. And there's two this year and there's two next year. And so these are generally warnings to the Lord's people. Matthew 16:4 tells us a wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. Yes, he departed. And then we turn to back to this thought of the day of ascension being that 15th day of May, the 26th day of the second month. And we read that as Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, so he shall come like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. So this word go, what does that mean? Well, the word go, G4198, means depart. So the sign of Jonah, and he departed. So let's go take a look at that sign of Jonah. And so that sign of Jonah is in Jonah 3:4, where it says, and Jonah began to enter into the city a day's journey, and he cried and said, yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. So in another study that I did, I had found out that Jonah means dove. And Isaiah 68, it references doves. Who are these that fly as a cloud and as the doves to their windows? Also within that study, I reported that Nineveh, the word means abode of Ninus, however you pronounce it. And Ninus means the king of Assyria and the husband of Semiramis. Now, Sister Sherry told us Shema is the main starship of both Maitreya and Lilith, while also saying these events that are coming up that she saw right away were the crashing of Shema and the locusts arriving. So these were simultaneous sort of events. And although those didn't happen then, now most likely they'll still occur in that same way. Now, in the same show, she said, and that one is just like, wow, the locusts are arriving. Because you sit and you think, well, wait a minute. Now, the sixth seal hasn't happened yet, or the seventh seal. That's okay, because those events are going to happen so quickly that they could be a blurb in the codes for like 1 or 2 days and then just go, as in that bathtub effect that she always mentioned. Now, Sister Sherry also said Shema is not only a huge temple in space to Lucifer, the Bible codes also refer to it as a hotel and airport, while also saying Shema is also known as Terra. The New Agers call it Shema. For some reason, its original name, it's what's left of Tiamat, which was Haliel's home planet at one time. And so here's what I'm wondering. If indeed it's the 40-day warning for Nineveh, could this be the timing of when the abode of Ninus, which would be the abode of Lucifer, the abode of the Tammuz, all of them, will that be thrown to earth? Shema. So going 40 days out from the blood moon of May 15th brings us to June 23rd. And so appropriate that we find in the Strong's Concordance for word 623, Apollyon, a destroyer. And Sister Sherry said that she saw another thing in the codes that Maitreya was fulfilling the role of Tammuz, while also telling us that another name for this Maitreya is destroyer, Apollyon, Abaddon. He is also associated with Nibiru. Yeah, that abode. And so when he arrives, then you're going to see the arrival of Nibiru invasions and Apollyon, Abaddon, and the Revelation 9 locust invasion. And so then we see a connection that Sister Sherry told us about of Tammuz and Obama. As she says, Obama is mirroring Tammuz progeny of the half white and half black scenario. And so they're connected also. So if these spiritual entities of Tammuz and Lucifer need bodies to come into use, I wouldn't be surprised if Obama would be the body that they do use. So this is just backup to these thoughts, where we see that both Lucifer and Maitreya have used Obama to speak through. Where we read that Sister Sherry told us sometimes Lucifer does speak through Obama. You can hear it in his voice when Obama gets into his oratory style, because Lucifer loves to give speeches. He used to speak through Hitler all the time, when you could hear Satan's voice coming out through him. And so it wouldn't be such a huge shock that Lucifer could overtake Obama's body and speak through him and fulfill the role of Antichrist through Obama. And she says, in regards to Maitreya and Obama, I've told you from the start, Obama's just a shell. He's a clone being, and they're using his body to walk in. And who's walking in and using him? Maitreya. Maitreya is using Obama's body to further the agenda of Satan's Ashtar Command and Council. So as a reminder of what we just went through, Maitreya is fulfilling the role of Tammuz, while also he walks in and talks through Obama. Now we also find in Jewish gematria that Barack Hussein Obama equals 623, while also finding that in Jewish gematria Obama is Antichrist also equals 623. 6 seal also equals 623. And so finally, also interesting in Jewish gematria, 623 equals third temple erected. Of course, Yahushua and Yahuwah are going to be our temple eventually, but right now we're going to be bringing up the Ark of the Covenant to the temple within heaven when we leave. So as one part of that temple, the Ark of the Covenant is indeed being brought up, erected. The temple of Lucifer and his minions could be being thrown down, Shema. And if this time our temple is leaving Yahushua and Yahuwah, they're not going to be around anymore. This makes sense. Revelation 11:2 says, "But the court which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not, for it is given to the Gentiles. In the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months." And on God's calendar, this day would be the 4th day of the 4th month. Again, the 4th day of the 4th month matches with the Gregorian date of June 23rd. And if we look in Jewish gematria at the number 44, we see the word call. When I see the word call, I think of the scripture of Matthew 25:6 says, "At midnight there was a cry made, cry, call, behold, the bridegroom comes, go out to meet him." And just so you know, the word for midnight doesn't necessarily strictly mean midnight. It can also mean midday. And we might be going back to that thought in a little while. So remember, Barack Hussein Obama was Jewish gematria number 623. And the number 44 for the date for the fourth day of the fourth month, yeah, Barack Obama, 44th president of the United States. June 23rd happens to be a Thursday on the Gregorian calendar. And as many of you know that have been following my Sabbath day posts, as of March 21st of this last year on the Gregorian calendar, the Sabbath day started falling on the Gregorian Thursdays. And so this is interesting if we're looking for Yahushua to bring us home, because it says, "The gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it should be opened." And that is the day in which the prince, Yahushua, could enter or leave by it. So take a look at the lineup in the sky for this time, as we're told to look towards the skies. From the east gate, you draw a straight line. You have the sun, Mercury, Venus, Uranus, the moon, Mars, and Jupiter, all in a straight line. So right now, I want to go backwards some days. If you remember, Sister Sherry told us about that 10-day process that I don't think would change just because it was delayed. When Father says something, he means it. And he did say that it would take 10 days to gather his people. And the gathering, not necessarily the removal, but the gathering of his people. 10 days. So 10 days earlier from June 23rd brings us to June 14th on the Gregorian calendar. And so on God's calendar, 10 days earlier, is the 26th day of the third month. And this day would match with day 40 of the 40 days and 40 nights of rain. As we can tell, it began on the 17th of the first month, leaving 14 days left in that month, plus 26 days of the second month equals 40 days. So that could fall in line definitely with Matthew 24:37, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So that is a day of Noah that we are told about, and a good day for the process of gathering his people to start. So there can also be a connection with full moons. As we know, we talked about that one on May 15th as a sign to start counting from. We then see another one on June 14th to then start counting from. So one of the names for this full moon on June 14th is called a rose moon. Now, Sister Ronda recently told us that the rose is the flower of Libra, and what is behind Lily's ear? A rose. The ruling planet is Venus. And indeed, a rose is behind Lily's ear and Ipeco too. And another indication that they know what's going on also. So isn't it interesting, the word Libra? We see that the adjective means free, liberty, liberation. The noun means scales. And indeed, we know that Yahushua is coming to set us free and take us out of this world. John 8:32 and 36 tells us, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Proverbs 16:11 tells us that just weight and balance are the Lord's. All the weights of the bag are his works. These weights are his. What are we told about the black horse in Revelation 6? It tells us, behold, a black horse. He who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hands, a pair of balances. And I've mentioned before that I think that the black horse doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. I think the black horse also means a good thing, because as we see, Zechariah 6:6 tells us the black horses which are therein go forth towards the north country, and the white go forth after them. And the grizzled go forth towards the south country. Grizzled is those locusts, I do believe. Yes, Apollyon, Abaddon, Grizzled Mbe, the king and the locusts coming together towards the south country. The black horse seems to be a purchase. And one of the purchase part for Yahushua and Yahuwah is going up. And this theme of being purchased is presented in Psalms 74 and 78, where it says, remember thy congregation, which thou hast purchased of old. Those probably were the old saints that he went to hell and brought them out of hell. The rod of thine inheritance, which thou hast redeemed. It's going to be us. This Mount Zion, wherein you hast dwelt. And he brought them to the border of his sanctuary, even to this mountain, which I believe is Enoch's planet, Mount Zion, which his right hand had purchased. Remember, he said he was going to make that place for us and bring us to it. So yes, on the 26th day of the third month of the calendar, June 14th on the Gregorian calendar, I think would be a proper timing of when we could be watchful for Father to start gathering his people home. So moving on in these 10 days, let's go from here. And in moving now, I want to look at June 20th, the first day of summer, first day of the fourth month on God's calendar. And we read in the book of Jubilees that on the new moon of the fourth month, the fountains of the great deep were closed and the floodgates of heaven were restrained. That was on the first day of the fourth month. And in chapter 16 of the book of Jubilees, we read in verses 4 and 5. First in verse 1, that on the new moon in the fourth month, that was the timing, which is the first day of the fourth month. Verse 4 and 5, that the Lord's executed judgment on Sodom, Gomorrah, and Zebulun in the region of Jordan happened then. And when did this all happen? But yes, in the fourth month. So this is the month of judgment. And so I'm very excited to see many scriptures that indicates the same timing. Matthew 24, 32 through 33 tells us, now learn a parable of the fig tree. When its branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that is near, even at the door. We can also read in Proverbs 10:5, he that gathereth in summer is a wise son. Wise virgin. But he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. And in Jubilees 3:32 through 35, we read on the new moon, first day of the fourth month, Adam and his wife went forth from the Garden of Eden, and they dwelt in the land of Elda, in the land of their creation. And Adam called the name of his wife Eve, and they had no son until the first Jubilee. Now he tilled the land as he had been instructed in the Garden of Eden. So technically, so that date would become an anniversary date of first fruits, and when first fruit offerings could be given, first fruits could be eaten, things like that. So interesting to note that the usage of the word Eden, of course, one of the meanings is the first habitat of man. And our habitat has been our own bodies. Our body is a temple, and we have been the temple of God. So I'm wondering if at this time or right uh, after this time, will this be the timing of when we would maybe be leaving our habitation, our bodies, our temples? This makes me think of Hosea 6, 1 through 3. Come and let us return unto the Lord, for he hath torn, he will heal us. He hath smitten, he will bind us up. After 2 days will he revive us. In the third day he will raise us up, and we shall live in his sight. Then shall we know, if we follow on to know the Lord. His going forth is prepared as the morning. It shall come unto us as the rain, as the latter and the former rain unto the earth. If so, those 3 days to go could be the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of the 4th month on God's calendar, June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd on the Gregorian calendar. Interesting to also note the place that Adam and Eve left once they left Eden, went to Elda, that habitat means to be wise. Elda means be wise. So then when we search Google for the word Elda in Hebrew, it means wise or prudent, which is what we just saw, but it also in Italian means warrior. And haven't we all been warriors for the Lord? So keeping on this theme of summer, wanted to pass on some scriptures of summer, indication of the timing of God's judgment and us leaving. Amos 8, 1 through 2 says, Thus the Lord God showed me, behold, a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what do you see? So I said, a basket of summer fruit. Then the Lord said to me, the end is come upon my people Israel. I will not pass by them any more. Amos 8:9 then continues to say, It will come about in that day, declares the Lord God, that I will make the sun go down at noon. Remember, I told you that midnight could mean at noon, midday. Actually, that same word means midday. And make the earth dark in broad daylight. We also see an interesting scripture of Jeremiah 51:53 that says, Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Lord. And here we see the usage of spoiler and noonday together in Jeremiah 15:8. Their windows are increased to me above the sand of the seas. I have brought upon them against the mother of the young men a spoiler at noonday. I have caused him to fall upon it suddenly, and terrors upon the city. And here's spoiler and summer mentioned together in Jeremiah 48:32. O vine of Sibmah, I will weep for thee with the weeping of Jazer. Thy plants are gone over the sea. They reach even to the sea of Jazer. The spoiler is fallen upon thy summer fruits and upon thy vintage. And Jeremiah 51:48 tells us from where they are coming from. When it says, then the heaven and earth and all that is therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoilers shall come unto her from the north, saith the Lord. Yes, they're coming from the north to the south, the grizzled and the bay. And the bay went forth to and fro through the earth. Get you hence. To and fro. We've seen that terminology too, associated with Joel 2:9 locusts, the mighty men. They will run to and fro in the city. So here's a spoiler alert. I believe that the reference of spoiler could be actually Apollyon, the king of the abyss. And the reference to spoilers could be a reference to the locusts, the actual mighty men, the giants that are coming upon the earth. So what about the sixth seal and when I think that might occur? Revelation 6:12-17 talks about this, and it says, and behold, when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. Of course, we know that's associated with the pole flip. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. Even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And we also know that the pole flip is about a mighty wind also. And we were told by Sister Sherry that the Father had told her that the pole flip happenings would be a process of 7 days. And so it's interesting to note that the day after the fourth day of the fourth month, in which I hinted that maybe would be a time to watch for us to leave, we see in Ezekiel 1:1 it talking about the fifth day of the fourth month, the next day, when the heavens were opened. And this story is continued in Ezekiel 3:15, where it says that then he came to them of the captivity at Tel Abib that dwelt at the river of Chebar, and he sat and remained there astonished among them for 7 days. There's that 7 days. Interesting to note that the word Tel Abib means mound of the flood, and we know that they're coming in as a flood. The earth swallows up the flood. We read about that flood that I was just talking about in Revelation 12:15-16, where it says, and the serpent cast out of its mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman and opened up her mouth and swallowed the flood. So from the blood moon on May 15th, 50 days brings us to July 3rd. And again, a parent that they know. Take a look at the clock. Noontime. Take a look at the flag close to July 4th being blown down. I mean, come on. We're talking about wintertime here. Snow. The pole flip has happened. The seasons have changed. And they are now in their Hebrew month of all names called Tammuz, where we find out that on the 3rd day of July is the equivalent of the 4th of Tammuz. Tammuz, their 4th month. 4th day of their 4th month. Verse, remember, the 4th day of our 4th month, God's calendar, is when we think we might be leaving. And in the book of Jubilees, we were told this would be the case. But if they do neglect and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order, and all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons and seasons and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong all the order of years. For I know, and from henceforth will I declare it to you, and it is not of my devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of the days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon. That's exactly how that Hebrew calendar is. How it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. And that's exactly what we see, because after our fourth day of the fourth month, which matches with June 23rd on the Gregorian calendar, there is exactly 10 days forward to their fourth day of the fourth month in the Hebrew calendar in July 3rd. So I'll be watching these dates. Will you be?